Good morning, everybody. Devin the Solar Dude here. Today, I wanted to talk about different utility companies and how they apply to solar and what you need to know to sell solar properly with these different companies. Now, Texas has so many different electricity providers. Each one is different. I'm going to talk about the Austin area, surrounding Austin, because that's the market that I focus on primarily, even though we do sell all over Texas and all over the country as well. So first off, I want to start with Encore. Encore actually runs the lines and the meter to a large portion of Texas. And then there are various individual sales electricity providers, I guess you could call them, that partner with Encore, and they all have their own net metering policy and they all have their own rules when it comes to solar. So every company is different. I love Encore, and I try and target homeowners in the Encore area because it gives people the power to choose what electricity provider they want to be with, right? So there's two companies that I suggest when you go solar to all homeowners if they're in Encore territory: Reliant and Green Mountain Energy. The reason why I suggest those is simple. It's because they pay $1 for $1 for solar that is provided to them. So during the day, as you know, electricity is produced by the solar panels, and that extra electricity flows to your electricity provider. Reliant and Green Mountain Energy, they'll pay you the same amount for the electricity they sell them that they sell back to you at night, right? Because they sell that electricity back to you at night, and they store that electricity during the day in the form of credits, right? So that allows the homeowner to completely zero out their electricity bill, right? It's like you can think of these, like Reliant Green Mountain Energy, is like a battery backup, right? They don't charge anything to do that service, right? So the homeowner can have a $0 electricity bill. It's, very possible as long as we can fit the panels on the roof. So I like to focus on the Encore areas and always make sure to tell the customer to switch to Reliant or Green Mountain Energy. There's a million other providers like Just Energy or First Texas Energy, the list goes on and on and on, who don't have a favorable net metering policy. So if they stick with those companies, the homeowner can end up with two bills. So it's very important to let them know to switch. And we got some sample bills in the little packet, so you can show the homeowners those so they can understand how it works. Another utility company in my area is Bluebonnet. People love solar and Bluebonnet. How their system is set up is a little different, right? They have a small connection fee that they always charge the customer. It's $22, right? So regardless of the setup, the customer is always going to have to pay that unless the amount of solar they produce is higher than the amount they consume. That extra electricity pursuit that they produce will start cutting into that connection fee. So that's good. So like in theory, right, if you build them a really big system that's going to cover way more electricity than their needs for the house, it's going to bite that, eat into that bill. But then there's another thing with Bluebonnet, right? Bluebonnet pays you like a wholesale price for the electricity you produce during the day. So that extra electricity you produce that you sell to Bluebonnet, they pay you much less than what they actually give you. So they pay you, I think, I'd have to check it, but I think it's about like 6 cents, whereas they're charging you 12 cents per kilowatt hour, okay? So what does that mean? That means they're gonna have a little bill on top of the normal bill, right? So how do you get around that? You just build the customer a bigger system to deal with that loss, that kilowatt hour loss, right? A much bigger system, actually, if you want to completely zero out their bill. A lot of homeowners in Maynard, they just love the idea of solar. We have lots of customers out there. They understand they're going to have two bills, but they're just happy to take ownership over the majority of their electricity. So it still makes a lot of sense to the right homeowner. Another provider is Austin Energy, right? They're one of the big ones. They have a $2,500 rebate, so people get really excited about it. They have a small connection fee. It's about $10 right now. Not too bad. And they also pay $1 for $1 for electricity that's produced, and they credit the customer $2,500. So their net metering policy is really good. Our customers in Austin Energy, they're really happy. The only thing I don't like about Austin Energy is they take a long time to get the permits approved. They take a long time to get that $2,500 rebate process. So some of our projects take a while to get turned on. But, if you want free money, it's not going to be easy, right? No one's going to give you, free money. You definitely need to make sure you have an installer who's on the list with Austin Energy, who is on the list of qualified installers to get you that $2,500 rebate. And there's a bunch of hoops that we need to jump through to make sure that you get that money credited to you. So that's something to keep in mind too. Just don't go with any company. You might not get that money, right? The company might be like, oh yeah, you get a $2,500 rebate, but they don't know how the whole process works. I fell victim to that when I first got into the industry, and I ended up, having to cut a customer a check for $2,500 out of my pocket. So just be careful with that when you're shopping for solar and shopping for a good company. The other big company that's popular out here is Pedernales, PEC. Now, they also have a connection fee. It's about $22. Their buyback plan is really favorable. So we actually have some customers that even with that $22, because their system is producing more electricity than they're using, has actually canceled out that $22 bill. So, you just build the solar system to produce slightly more electricity than you're using, and you can, zero out that bill too. So PEC is good. I'm hoping these companies get rid of that connection fee, because like Encore and a lot of these other companies have no connection fee. So it'd be nice if they can get rid of that. But the reason why they charge you that is because you are using their transmission lines, right? So they want to charge you for something and benefit, off of the customers who are going solar. Now, I want to talk about this. So Georgetown Electric, right? They're another electricity company that had a very good net metering policy until recently. And I've been telling customers this, who I've been meeting with, who are on the fence about going solar or want to wait or want to think about it for a long time, that these electricity companies, they can change their net metering policy. So Georgetown, they were paying you 1 for 1, right? They're paying you $1 for $1. So you're able to, they have a small connection fee too, but you're essentially able to almost zero out your bill with them. But just recently, they changed that. I guess enough people went solar. It wasn't benefiting them anymore. So now they're paying half. I just learned this because I was out there knocking on doors, and a few people brought it to my attention. I was like, wow, when did this happen? I guess it happened early January. But essentially now they're paying you like a wholesale price for the electricity that you produce during the day. So they're paying you like half of what they're selling it to you for, right? So all those people who went solar last year, they're really happy because they're like, hey, I'm grandfathered in to this old solar plan, right? Where I get paid $1 for $1. And now everyone else who wants to go solar, they have to pay half price, or they're getting paid half price for their electricity. So it makes it much, much harder, and you need much more solar to, get close to getting rid of that electricity bill completely, producing all your own energy without having to pay Georgetown Electricity. And I see this happen in Oklahoma too, with a lot of these companies. So right now, guys, is a good time to go solar, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. Right now, you don't need to spend a bunch of money on batteries, right? We have these electricity companies who store the electricity for us, and they pay us a really good price for it, right? So in the case of Encore, you're able to completely eliminate your bill. But that might not be around forever, right? We saw that with Georgetown Electric. They completely changed that. It was no longer benefiting them. Now, if you go solar there, unless you have a really, really big system, you're going to have like some sort of bill that you have to pay them. So now is a very good time to go solar while these programs are very favorable to homeowners, right? And you're able to save a lot of money. So that's one reason, to jump on the solar train as soon as possible. I mean, with every industry, early adopters are rewarded, right? So that kind of sums up the different companies that we work with in the Austin area. Um, you know, if there are some small co-ops, right, that don't have a net metering policy at all, so the customers really need batteries. If you run into those, just call the provider and ask them what their solar plan is or what their net metering policy is, and they'll tell you, right? When in doubt, call these companies and just ask them directly. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned a little thing or two. If you have anything to add, please add it in the comments. Thanks.